my name is Kim, and in this tutorial I'll be showing you how to make the chunky Denver hat. You'll need an 8mm crochet hook, 2 types of yarn. For yarn A, I used yarn B, Soft and Sleek Chunky, in the colorway Crisp Air, and for that there's about 211 yards per skein, but I only used about half to 3/4 of the skein. I didn't use all of it. And for the second type of yarn, yarn B, I used yarn B Fleece Light in the colorway Opal Fire, and in that skein there's only about 110 yards per skein. So again, if you're substituting it, I used pretty much the whole skein of that one. You'll need some scissors, a needle, but with that, let's get to it. Begin with yarn A and a slip knot. Then you're going to chain 13. When I work into my chain, I prefer to work in the 3rd loop of the chain or the bumps on the back. However, work your stitches where they are most comfortable for you. Starting in the 2nd chain from the hook, half double crochet into each chain across to complete row 1. After that, you will chain 1 and turn to begin row 2. Your chain 1 in the ribbing does not count as a stitch. For row 2, you will work a half double crochet into the front loop only of each stitch. It is easy to tell which is the front loop by seeing which loop is raised to form a peak. On the last stitch of the row, place your half double crochet through all 3 loops of the stitch. This helps give your edges a nicer finished look. Each row from here is a repeat of row 2. You can check my website, linked below, to view row counts for adult sizes small through extra large, or you can repeat row 2 until the band fits around your head. Meet me back here when you've done all the rows for the band. You're seeing me finish up on my last row of the ribbing. From here, we're going to join our 2 ends together with a row of slip knots. I do not chain 1 before I start my slip knots, but if you chain 1 here, it will not make a difference. Simply insert your hook through both stitches, pull a loop through the stitches and through the loop on your hook until the end of the row. After you have joined your 2 sides together, you will notice a raised seam from the slip stitches. The band is folded up onto the hat, so the raised seam will be tucked away and non-visible. Next, we will complete 1 row of single crochet evenly across the ribbing. Simply chain 1 and do your best to evenly place the stitches. Remember to give yourself some slack if it takes you a few tries. When you come to the end of the row, join with the first single crochet with a slip stitch. And with a quick check to see if our stitches are even, we're ready to change to yarn B. Change colors in whichever way you are familiar, or fasten off with yarn A and fasten on with yarn B. And with a chain 1 in yarn B, we're ready to start the body of the hat. There are a total of 15 rows of the body, although crochet any number of rows that makes you happy and that fits your head. Each of the 15 rows are exactly the same. Place a half double crochet in each stitch across, and when you come to the end of the row, join with the slip stitch. Do not turn, but chain 1 and go on to row 2. Upon completion of row 15 on the body of the hat, fasten off with a generously sized tail to seam up the top. I like to go with 2 times the circumference of my hat just to be safe. Make sure you go through each stitch, but you can use your crochet hook or a needle. The crochet hook works in a pinch, but personally I think it takes a little longer, so I prefer to use the needle. Essentially, you are weaving the end back and forth through each stitch, and this is why it's so important not to miss one. If you miss one, it might not come together as nicely, and you can risk holes under the pom-pom. If you begin to pull the opening closed about 1 to 2 times as you go, it will make it way easier on you at the end to finish up closing it. Pull it as tight as you can and begin tying it closed however you feel most comfortable. I like to secure it a few times before weaving in all my ends. After all ends have been tucked away and secured, it's time for our final step. To make the pom-pom, I wrapped yarn A around the palm of my hand until it felt like it was thick enough. The thicker your pom-pom, the more dense it will be. Then cut 1 12-inch strand and tie it tightly around the center of your half-made pom-pom. From there, use sharp scissors to cut both sides of the pom-pom open. I should have been using longer scissors, but I didn't have any on hand. Then you'll shake it out and start trimming it into the shape that you want. Once you're happy with its shape, secure one of the long ends on a needle. If you accidentally cut these, simply get another strand of yarn A and run it through the center with the needle. Push each long end through opposite ends of the top of the hat. Find the inside of your hat and tie those two strands together tightly. The very last step is to use your needle to push the two ends back through your pom-pom and trim them so they blend in. I hope you enjoyed this chunky hat tutorial. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments.